It is Preview Friday yet again, Freaky Friday, just a few days before Christmas, and today we have the SR cards and the green reveal for set 6, and I don't really agree with the fact that they are releasing and previewing both sets right at the same moment or at the same time. I think that kind of takes away from the theme booster sets. There are a couple of things or a couple of reasons for that. One, they want to have people to get hype for the Broly movie because it will be released in January, so for everybody to see all the cards before January, including the Broly packs and things like that, it can generate more and more interest as the movie is released, since there's going to be a lot of people who aren't in the game going to be seeing the movie. And I think that's the kind of the philosophy for it. So by the time that March rolls around, competitive season most likely will start again, and then all of the set 6 stuff will be released and previewed, or at least like we'll know exactly what we'll be heading into. So anyway, we're gonna go through the SR cards first. There's only 6 of them, so pretty small set, pretty small SR pool, and then we're gonna go right into the sets. I don't know why did that make me laugh? The set 6 stuff for the green cards. So the first one here, we're not really gonna go through all the actual traits. They're all pretty much here. We have the Freeza, which we're already seen. The Bardock, the Goku, both of them we're already seen. These are new, and also very interesting. So as we kind of get into the SRs, again, they're pretty much tied to his theme sets, and when it comes to the SRs in any theme booster so far, they're kind of hit or miss. I guess they never miss, huh? So I mean, knowing that, I'm not really gonna do this for this set over here, or at least this set of pulls for this super rares, but going forward, I think what I'm gonna do for all the previews is gonna have my top 3 cards for that section, basically. So instead of this section, I'm going to do a top 3 for the green cards to look out for, and pretty much the cards that I would see. And I'll put an honorable mention for this one too, because there is a couple cards that I do like here. Anyway, so the first one is Final Showdown Freeza. We kind of already knew this. This actually looks like or at least like an SPR, but this is just the SR. It's the critical double striker for 5. If you didn't know, we do have the swap mechanic, in which this goes from 1, 2, 3, and then you pay 2, I do believe, into a 5 drop. So you can kind of see it here as far as the swap mechanic for the 1, the 2, and the 3, and then 2 red for a swap for 5, which is the Final Showdown Frieza. So at the very earliest, you can do this for 3 energy, and if you're playing blue somehow and with 2 energy, you're gonna have to have 3 energy at the very least. And I think that this whole swap engine here is actually really cool. This one actually gives something 5k, whether it be the leader or something else, for the duration of the turn. With the flip side leader, it is effectively a 25k leader after you KO something, and then give it that 5k boost for the duration of the turn, much like a Sensu Bean for both turns, basically. And then this one you don't really want out, and that's kind of like the liability thing, in which if they tap it using yellow cards or whatever, that's supposedly the counter, you can just go ahead and get it killed. And yes, it killed. It doesn't also have barrier too, so both of those things are kind of a threat. And then this one, it just KOs something with 20k or less. Majority of the time, you're going to be using 1 energy, or at least very well 2 energy, in order to bring out the 3, get it barrier, and at any time you're going to use 2 red energy to bring out the 5. And this one, as you can read here, is an auto. Once per turn, your opponent declares a battle card, activates a skill, that puts a battle card into play. So either play from a skill or regularly play it. Your leader card is a red Frieza army card, which is really the only one that we have. The first form Frieza, that is. You may choose 1 card from your life and place it in the drop area, so you crit yourself, and then you cold bloodlust it. So this effectively gets around deflect, because it's not a counterplay, so you can pretty much just use cold bloodlust for this one if you just crit yourself, and then just basically negate make it a vanilla card. And what's cool about this is that for basically 2 energy, you can get this man out for a critical double strike 25,000. Yes, it doesn't have barrier, but at any time you can just crit your life and then place it in the drop area, and you can do that pretty early. So yes, the first form Frieza does awaken, or it can awaken pretty early, with taking life and just looking at the top 2 if need be. But you can play this pretty early and then use it as a self-awakener as well. So I think this is a well-designed card. It doesn't have barrier, so if it did have barrier, it would be a problem, but it doesn't. So there you go. Speaking of barrier, so this man has has barrier 5k. Kind of already talked about this in the blue preview, so I don't really want to go into it. It is still pretty cool. Every time that it does switch, they have to choose one card from the hand and place it in the bottom area. So this does proc off on Vitals Assistance, so you can play it. You can do it on defense and you can do it on offense. So pretty cool as far as that goes. Green, I do like the Final Showdown Goku. So it says when a Krillin with the energy cost of 4 or more is in your battle area and KO'd by opponent, if your leader card is green or black, so that means any green leader, any black leader. This one was designated for the new green leader that you drop 1 and draw 2, drop a green card that is, and you play this card from your hand and you can't play it for the rest of your turn. And when you play it, you choose one of their battle cards ignoring barrier and KO it. So one of the things I do want to point out as we go into the green cards, I think Bandai is really moving towards like an anti-barrier sort of meta in which green is going to have a lot of answers in order to answer to barrier basically. And I know that was a problem beforehand, and that's one of the problems that we're not really talking about right now because of Huragan, because of Gogeta, because of Shenron, and because of all these other threats that we're kind of trying to settle as far as the meta. But barrier in itself, in a control slash like a slower meta, it can be an issue. So they're preparing ourselves for the coming times, basically Sec 6 and beyond, and giving us some options for barrier. So the 2 cards right now are going to be the targets for these 2, the one that acts as a deadly defender and one that KOs, I do believe, or draw 1 card and then this KOs and this one draws 1 card and then is a, what is it? Deadly Defender. There you go. Tenacious Spirit Son Gohan. I think this card is going to be slept on. It's going to be one of those cards that gets really cheap, and then some way, somehow, someone's going to be playing it in some sort of green deck, which green is going to be in a really good position later on as these cards get out and as Set 6 releases. And this is going to be one of those cards where it's going to be really cheap. It's going to be really cheap after the set kind of settles down. So as every set I've been through quite a many now, in which you know, the set kind of releases, all the cards are very expensive, and then about like 20 days, that's a very specific number by the way, they go and drop. And this is going to be one of those ones that's going to be very cheap, in which I'm like, okay, you guys should probably pick this up. That's just me, that's just my prediction. But it is a cantrip in which it draws 1 no matter what you do, and when you play it for 1 cost and then activate main, you choose, or you pay 2 green, and then it gets 15k in critical. So some people are saying, you know, why would you play this against, you know, Newfound Power Gohan or Intensified Power Trunks? The answer is because you don't have to take a life. That's one huge thing. So at any time, as long as you pay 2 energy, you're effectively getting a 20,000 critical striker. And yes, with Champa, with East Kai, whatever, you can go ahead and give it double strike. So that's kind of the main idea for this one. It kind of just sits there. It allows you to draw a card. It is cheap, and at the very worst, it is combo power and adds to your hand advantage. So very, very cool. I love the card. I love Gohan. So I'm always gonna back that up. Also, I love how I love how Bandai, like Bandai, like I made jokes and I made comments about like Bandai not playing their own game, but they're really saying the kind of verbiage that we usually use as players, like this can't go on replace itself, in which it draws 1 and you play it. So I mean, it's just, I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, Piccolo. So this one's fused with Nail. You choose one basically of any of these sort of effects. You can choose, this card gains 3k power for the race in their turn for each Namekian under the card. And then the other effect, which is really good, is if there are 3 cards, 3 or more Namekians under this card, that's no matter what at any time, this card gains barrier and until the end of the opponent's turn, that is, and then choose one of the opponent's energy and switches to rest mode, and that can't be switched to active mode until the end of the opponent's turn. So one of the reasons, again, why we're going into something or getting more and more answers into what should we call it, the like anti-barrier sort of KO type of thing is kind of some of these cards. And not only that, is that as we go into more and more sets and previous sets before, we now have a counterplay card called Preemptive Strike, in which this is targeted for, and pretty much every single card except for the two, or all the five drops here, is going to be affected by that. So Piccolo loses automatically against that. But at the same time, as it sits and as it gains barrier, and you're not able to attack in an active mode, this is a really strong card. And if you didn't remember, Nail over here is burst 2. You choose one Namekian, and then place it under the chosen battle card, so you can just use this one drop to place another one, or place a card underneath that other card and gates 5k. This one is the Union Absorb with choose a Nail under or in your hand or drop area, so you place this one over here, and then a Union Absorb, and you lead a card to Shenron. So yeah, that's the one, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So choose one Nail from your hand or drop area and place it on the card, and you lead a card as a Shenron card. Doesn't matter which one. You get to, your opponent has 3 or more cards in rest mode. Choose up to one Namekian, yellow Namekian with the energy cost of 4. From your deck or drop area, and play on top of this card in active mode. So pretty cool, in which you can pay for 3 and get the 4 drop out pretty quickly, and then go ahead and awaken. Well, I wouldn't say awaken, but wish, and then keep doing it if you have multiple ones in your drop area or combo from your hand. And that's pretty cool, because now you can get a couple of these on the board and then lock 2 of their energy pretty much permanently, as long as they don't have Zeno. Which again, the new Zeno for the green one, which now we'll see in a second, the black Shenron, and then Zeno and himself, is going to be very interesting to see as we kind of lose to those things with these type of cards. Overall, very cool card. I love it. It's very, I won't say it's like amazing in which it I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a very appropriate for what it was going for. Newfound power Porunga. Wow, say that 5 times fast. It's a 3 drop, 20k, so not a Child's Wish target, and this one is, or not that one, but the 2 drop Piccolo that I just showed is a Child's Wish target, so you could do that pretty quickly, especially since it specifies a Shenron leader. But this is probably my favorite SR aside from Gohan, in which this is a 3k, 20k, or 3 costs, 20k, permanent, can attack, just like all the other black Shenron cards. And it's an activate main, in which you switch to rest mode, which is very huge. Him being a 20k, they have to combo quite a lot in order to get over it, especially at 3 energy. Sometimes if they're not awakened, it's going to be a kind of hard, or they're going to use one of their battle cards, and then they have to waste cards in order to kill it. So that's a huge thing. The other thing, and that's another thing for balancing. I think that's really good. If you lead a card as a black Shenron, so it's only exclusive to the 2 Shenrons, the PORUNGA, and as well as the other Shenron. You choose one, draw 2 cards, so that's really good. I think 3 for 2 is not bad, and especially if it stays there. That's the automatic 2 cards. Like, you're gonna be drawing quite a lot in black Shenron, either way, and this is gonna help with that. But at the same time, as you got to be a little careful not to deck yourself out too quickly. But you do choose one of your battle cards. It gains 10k for the until the opponent's end of the next turn. So it's like it's just like the Freeza Sensu Bean type thing. So if you have a Deadly Defender or Vegito, it now becomes a 25 or a 30k with Vegito, or a 30k and a yeah, basically 30k, both 30k, if anything. And I think that's really good, and that's another reason why this goes into rest mode, because now even if they have a Deadly Defender, or if you have a Deadly Defender or a Vegito, they can still attack the PORUNGA, and either way you're going to be wasting quite a lot of cards. And since it's at the end of the opponent's next turn, they can keep doing this. You can keep doing this, that is, and it's just gonna cause a lot of trouble. You just want to get rid of this as soon as possible. Now that it doesn't have barrier, that's a really good thing. And the last effect is that you choose one of yours and as well as opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and then you rest. Then choose the rest of yours and the opponent's battle cards in the battle area, ignoring barrier, and then shuffle in an owner's deck. So again, this is another form of Zeno, It doesn't actually negate the skills, so if something does get returned or something happens to those cards, it still gets procced off. But the other thing is that this is more for board clear, so this is another option for board clear. Not that Black Shenron's needed that, because it has the Wish to Porunga now, but it's interesting. It's really interesting to see that, and this is more towards the archetype of Freeza versus Goku. So just like the Wish to Porunga, in which you choose 2 battle cards and then you reset the hand and field. This one resets the field, and you leave 2 cards at the on the battlefield. Basically, you can choose this one if you really wanted to, and then the next turn you just draw 2 cards. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, or I don't know. I mean, that's just it, but still pretty cool. And if this gets shuffled back into your deck, it's safe for the most part, and you can just go ahead and draw it and then do it again. Also, note this typo. Can we just can we just zoom in on the what am I doing? What am I doing? Look at this S draw. What is that about? Get your shit together, Bandai. Anyway, very cool. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here, so that way we can go ahead and talk about the green cards. I will see you in that video.